More developers are speaking out on Xbox Series X and PS5. Let's get into it. What is going on, guys? Diller back again with yet another video, hurtling through the spaces of YouTube searching for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X information. Well, you've come to the right place. Today we got some information from several developers speaking up on PS5 and Xbox Series X, some context, if you will, as to what they know. And as for the source, I've chosen to roll with my buddies at seasonedgaming.com. Check them out, give them some support. So let's get into the information from these developers. Seasoned Gaming. Developers begin to weigh in on power gap between the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. Now, naturally, it all comes down to development, developers, budget, resources, time, etc. But ultimately, what we've seen from most AAA developers is that they do leverage the hardware quite nicely. Just keep in mind that no matter what kind of hardware you have, it does come down to developers. We've covered this a million times, but at the end of the day, some people act like you need to say it every single time, so there you go. And speaking of developers, let's start with this one. Chris Goodell, former Sony developer who worked on both PS3 and PS4 games, does offer a ton of context. And by the way, shout out to Chris, he is going to come on the podcast. We are working on getting a date down there, but let's get into what he has to say. I've chatted to a few devs, and they have confirmed the power difference is quite staggering. However, they have said that it doesn't mean that you can't make good games on the PS5. Now, that is not only quote of the century, but it is quite indicative of the information that I've heard, the things that I've been saying, and quite literally the math itself. Remember, some of these guys are looking at a percentage scaling on the GPU side, not understanding the deltas that we have today are only bigger thanks to RDNA 2 and the total power ceiling itself. There will be a bigger gap than ever thanks to more performance per T-flop, if you want to think about it that way. The article says, when asked about the speed of PS5's SSD having an impact, he had the following to say. As blistering as the PS5 SSD is, it is not going to make up for the loss of CUs or the variance in clock speeds. It's also nowhere near the GDDR6 levels. And he does imply that that means it is going to be less reliable for virtual memory. As you guys know, both Microsoft and Sony are going heavy on virtual memory this generation. Memory is just too expensive to multiply when it comes down to it. You can't keep jacking up the amount of memory you have in these systems. It's just it's still too much. So they found a way around it with very, very, very fast memory and, of course, custom compression. So yes, that is former Sony developer Chris Goodell. Let's move on to the next developer. This one coming from IGN's Unlocked podcast, where they did have an unnamed developer give his thoughts, and it echoed Chris's. But actually, it was a bit more in depth, given that he does touch on multiple aspects of the system. I'm paraphrasing, but he starts with, hey, the APIs will determine how efficient these boxes are when it comes down to it and what the developers get out of them. Now, in this developer's opinion, Mark Cerny pulled a fast one on the general public with the ways he described the hardware PlayStation 5. The developer says, first off, we have no clue on the sustained numbers of the GPU clocks. Same for the CPU. However, judging by the leaks that did nail the Series X numbers, the numbers look significantly lower. When speaking to IGN's Ryan McCaffrey, he does say one of the things you and the general public are basically missing out on is PS5's CU count. Remember, PS5 has 36 CUs and the Xbox Series X has 52. He says the CU count is a huge drawback on all modern executions such as ray tracing, that variable rate shading, VFFR, and more. Keep in mind that PlayStation 5 does not have variable rate shading even confirmed for it, which is an RDNA 2 feature. This does reduce detail and effort from the GPU on areas you don't notice. Think of it as a graphics checkerboarding, and it has already been proven to increase performance anywhere from 30 to 40% in certain aspects of games. He continues, this means the CU cores are tied to the ray tracing cores, so with all that said, the PS5 has 40% or so less CUs. Now he gives his opinion on Xbox Series X. Now to Microsoft's biggest advantage. Their speed numbers are locked and are not boost numbers, which with software could always be pushed further. Let me know what you think about this quote. You gotta understand that many people still don't know that to achieve that 10.28 in PlayStation 5, you have to underclock other parts of the system. The same goes for the CPU. If you want to hit that 3.5 gigahertz, you do have to underclock the GPU. You cannot run both at maximum clocks at the same time. This is why they went into detail on AMD Smart Shift. It is a power shifting technology. It is meant to make the most efficient use of the power you have and help with heat management. So again, say a developer needs more CPU overhead, and they want to get to 3.3 or 3.5 gigahertz, which is still slower than the Series X CPU. They have to underclock the GPU, take that wattage, and shift it towards the CPU, and this is to help with the overall wattage of the box, and there's only so much cooling capacity, so this helps there too. Look, I've talked over and over about how both systems are going to be awesome, but I really don't think people understand. They're not taking this into account at all. You're looking at a world where in one developer's hands, PS5 is running a 10.2 teraflop GPU, and in another, you may be playing a game that is only running a 9.5 teraflop PlayStation 5 GPU. It's very, very interesting to think about. So I expect, depending on what kind of title developers are making, to see very, very big GPU discrepancies from title to title. And that's why I base all of my estimates on their best case scenario. But again, you will not always have that GPU at 10.2 as confirmed by Mark Cerny. Not because of thermal overhead, but because developers choose to downclock it to ramp the CPU clocks up. This is what AMD Smart Shift is. Series X, always locked, always there, always consistent. Every developer knows what they're going for. And the best part is what they're going for is better across the board, except for the SSD, than the PlayStation 5. If you're an Xbox fan, hey, there's no reason you shouldn't celebrate. But, you know, that depends on if you want to pay what is probably going to be $100 more. Everybody should want the best power and performance for the dollar, after all. But in either case, they're both going to be awesome. Let me know your thoughts down below. I cannot wait. Again, guys, my heart goes out to everybody out there struggling with all the crap that's happening. I can't stress it enough. When we do make these videos, you know, hey, in my area, I'm not really affected by it all that much. So I'm not really experiencing what some of you guys out there are experiencing. It's really odd. Don't think that I'm not thinking about those of you out there that may be going through this stuff. Maybe take your mind off. Hopefully just took your mind off it. You know, talk about some plastic a little bit, some numbers. But hey, again, guys, thank you so much. Hang in there. Be strong. Share this with a buddy or two if you wouldn't mind. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. Maybe subscribe for more. Hit that bell icon for those notifications. And check out those links down below. Shout out to Season Gaming. And, of course, the producer of this music, Open Mic. His link is down below. Patrons, channel members, thank you so much for what you do. You guys are the best in the universe. And, of course, hey, you go the extra mile. What can I say? Thank you. Seriously, really helps. And again, guys, thanks for checking out the video. I'm Dealer. I'm out.